Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everyone. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio, and it is Tuesday, January 20th. No, I'm sorry, it's Wednesday. No, I don't know what day it is. Oh, that's terrible. Anyway, it's the 20th of January, 5:30 in the morning, Calgary, Alberta, and I'm happy to be here. I'll eventually figure out the day today. I'm just really happy to be here this morning. 15 minutes, just a quick chat, and we're talking about child sexual abuse. This is a live internet radio streaming broadcast, and you can call in. I have a guest call-in number. That's 917-889-3736, and you're more than welcome to phone in if you have any suggestions for topic-related material that you might think is really beneficial to the listeners regarding child sexual abuse, or if you have, a story your story you'd like to share, please feel free to call in. And I do check my switchboard every now and then, so just hang on there if I don't see you right away. And I have my chat window up, of course, and you can register on Blog Talk Radio and be a registered user of the site, and you can sit in all the chat rooms of all these different shows that you might find as you're browsing around there. There's lots and lots of shows. I think there's thousands of shows, and you might find something. There is some really good stuff on here, and I'm actually, I have about 30 shows that I try to keep up with on here. So that just tells you there's a lot of really good stuff on here. And so if you want to register as a user, you can see that for yourself and pick out the shows that you find interesting or that you're interested in. So and you can sit in the chat room. I have all my information typed up in the chat room. That's why I mentioned that, because I do type up all my references and what I'm reading from, and just throw out a few references to people from what I saw that was really beneficial. So we'll just start right away. Yesterday we were talking about, going through the steps of prevention listed on Little Warrior's website about child sexual abuse, and you can find this at www.littlewarriors.ca, and they had 7 steps. Learn the facts, minimize opportunity. Step 3, talk about it. That's what we talked about. We're actually going to go into that. And step 4, stay alert. Step 5, make a plan. Step 6, act on suspicion. Step 7, get involved. So just some really interesting information regarding child sexual abuse, which is such a problem. It is a huge, huge epidemic, and not only in North America but all around the world. And I mean, if we're ever going to make any kind of positive change in this for children in regards to child sexual abuse, we're going to have to start talking about it. It's going to have to become very public, and it is very public. You see stuff in the paper, but what you see is children who are dying at the hands of caregivers and parents and other people, abductions and stuff. Normally, that's when they make the papers, when they've either been murdered or they or just abused so badly that they die, and which is murder. And all I can say is that as a person on the planet, we really have to get involved, even no matter how that is, right? And I mean, I know our resources are limited and time is limited for most people, but I mean, even if we all did one little thing, it all adds up to be a big thing. And so the more we can do, even just speaking about it, talking about it, and reaching out to people in our own world. And really the main key is to look around at the children in your life. I don't have any children, and I don't, but I'm still very much aware of what's going on around me. But if you have children, or you live in an area where there are lots of children, or you just happen to work with children, make sure that you do look out for these kids. It's absolutely it's imperative. It's a must. You have to look out for everyone that's around you, right? Because some people and children especially just do not have a voice. They can't stand up for themselves. So we need to take that responsibility. I really believe that. So this is one child abuse survivor to another, and I'm so happy that you can join me. We're going to get right into this. We left off yesterday. Talk openly with your child. This is really quite good. This was step 3, talk about it. We didn't quite get to finish that. I don't think that we did. No, I'm sure we didn't. Talk about openly with your child. And we'll just read right from their page. And it says, good communication may decrease a child's vulnerability to sexual abuse and increase the likelihood that the child will tell you if abuse has occurred. It says, teach your children about their bodies, about what abuse is, and when age appropriate, about sex. Teach them words that help them discuss sex comfortably with you. And there's lots of resources for parents out there on this. I've seen it myself, and I will, as we continue on through the week, I'm going to pull up some more resources for parents about tips on how to talk to your children regarding sexual abuse and sex, because there are some really good resources for parents out there right now, because people have really gotten serious about this, and we all need to take this very seriously. Model caring for your own body and teach children how to care for theirs. They also say, teach children that it is against the rules for adults to act in a sexual way with them, and use examples. Teach them what parts of their bodies others should not touch. And this is so important, right? You want to let them know, because children, especially young children, they just don't know, right? So you do have to be there for them and really educate your children. Be sure to mention that the abuser might be an adult, friend, family member, or older youth. Teach children not to give out their email addresses, home addresses, or phone numbers while using the Internet. And Internet safety is just such a huge issue, and we all know that today, right? There's whole websites talking about Internet safety, and I'm going to be covering that too as well on Blog Talk Radio, and it's so important. Start early and talk often. Use everyday opportunities to talk about sexual abuse. Be proactive. If a child seems uncomfortable or resistant to being with a particular adult, ask why. Because see, if you notice that there's someone in your life who the child is very uncomfortable being around, and it's a particular adult or even maybe an older youth, ask why. Don't just assume that maybe they're. Don't just think, oh well, maybe they just don't like them or whatever. You want to make sure. You do want to ask questions. One survey showed that fewer than 30% of parents ever discussed sexual abuse with their children. I know my parents didn't, and that's just one person, right? It's a huge problem, and people really we have to change this. We have to change it for the children today who are suffering from child sexual abuse all around the world, not only in North America, but even in our own backyard, in our own families. We really have to change this and make it stop, right? So the only way we're going to do that is to get proactive on it, just get proactive, and that's what I say. And even then, most fail to mention that the abuser might be an adult friend or family member, because nobody wants to talk about it, right? Nobody wants to think that this is possible, that a family member would sexually abuse a child. And it happens, people. It happens all the time. And, I know myself, I suffered from child sexual abuse by a family member. And, it's just, and then you start looking around at all the people who have been sexually abused by a family member, and you think, oh my God, is it all of us? Really, honestly, that's how big the problem is. So if you haven't been sexually abused as a child, wonderful, and I'm so happy and thankful to God for that. But if you have, then you're not alone. There's so many people right now walking the planet, adult survivors of child sexual abuse, and we'll be covering that as well. That is such a huge epidemic problem. It needs to stop, and the only way we're going to do it is to actually get involved, get this out into the open, and start talking about it. There's nothing to be, children should not be made to feel ashamed, and as an adult survivor of child sexual abuse, it's not your fault, so you don't carry that guilt. And so we're going to go into all these issues, right? It's such a huge problem, and it needs to stop, like right now. And, we're just going to keep talking, raising our voices, and I sure hope that you will just get involved in your own community, in your own family, and start watching out for people and just take that responsibility on, because we all do need to. It's very important. They also have down here, talk to other adults about child sexual abuse. Support and mutual learning occur when you share with another adult, right? So it just helps, like just by spreading the word, just to keep this education going, because this is a problem. It's a real serious lack of education on people's parts. My parents were born in the 20s. No one talked about this stuff in their lifetime, and it was going on in their lifetime. I'm sure of it. It's been going on since time began. But the thing is it was just not talked about. So my parents never talked about it. My parents were very abusive towards each other and us, and so it was just a huge mess. So this can happen. I'm just living proof that this can happen, and I see it in the paper. Look at the statistics of all the abused children out there, and then people would say, oh well, maybe they wouldn't believe it or whatever. Well, believe it, people, because it's happening all over the place. And if you grew up in an abusive home, then you know yourself, whether domestic violence, child abuse, child sexual abuse, it's happening, and it's going on all around the world. So we do need to make sure we get this stopped. And the only way it's going to happen is all of us getting involved. So it says support and mutual learning occur when you share with another adult. Excuse me. You raise the consciousness of your community and influence their choices about child safety. This is what happens when you talk to other adults about child sexual abuse, right? People start realizing that it's happening in their own backyard. And it's so important. I told the people at work that I was talking about child sexual abuse, and I don't have a opportunity to really get into the subject with them, but at least they know, hey, there's somebody out there doing this, there's somebody out there talking about this, so it's really important. You may be offering support and information to an adult whose child is experiencing abuse and may not know what to do. Right? So you just don't know. You could be talking to somebody whose child has actually gone through that, or maybe is at the time, and they suspect it, but they may not know what to do. And this could actually promote them to get help and to reach out and make the proper phone calls and get help for these children, right? It says you put potential abusers on notice that you are paying attention. That is so important. In a home where you might suspect that this is going on. You once you start talking about it, they're going to know that you're aware of it and you're on top of it. And step 4, we're on to step 4. Stay alert. Don't expect obvious signs when a child is being sexually abused. Signs are often there, but you've got to spot them. And this is just right off their page. It says, here's a question that somebody might ask, right? Is my son's withdrawal due to preteen angst, or is he being sexually abused? Learn the signs. Physical signs of sexual abuse are not common. And then it goes on to explain the physical signs, right? And we're not going to go over those on the air just because there might be children listening and the sensitivity of it. But chronic pain and headaches, lots of physical problems associated with child sexual abuse. So you can go on to this website, www.littlewarriors.ca, and read those for yourself and learn the signs, the physical signs of whether or not you think a child is being sexually abused. It's very important. Emotional or behavior signals are more common. These can run from too perfect behavior to withdrawal and depression to unexplained anger and rebellion. And that's very true with all abuse against children. They can, whether it's physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, child sexual abuse, everything can cause the child to either be too perfect, like he has to be too perfect to try to please everyone, or the child might withdraw and become depressed and always want to be by themselves. It says sexual behavior and language that are not age appropriate can be a red flag. That's so important because really, especially young children don't know anything about that sort of that talk or that type of behavior. So you that's a red flag. And be aware that in some children there are no signs whatsoever. If you find physical signs that you suspect there are sexual abuse, have the child physically examined immediately by a professional who specializes in child sexual abuse. So important. Tomorrow we're going to talk about step 5, make a plan, and we'll just continue on with child sexual abuse here in the mornings just for a while. I have some great resources. Dreamcatchers for Abused Children. That's http://dreamcatchersforabusedchildren.com. Awesome information on there. I'm a volunteer and I love to stand with them. They are doing such great work. And also art by Linda Lee. Linda Lee's a survivor of child abuse. She has her own website, and I'm a she's my friend. I'm just so happy. www.artbylindalee.com, and please sign her guest book when you go onto her website, because she was part of the Child Abuse Monument up here in Canada. The Survivor Manual, www.survivormanual.com. Angela Shelton Foundation. Please check that out. That's an awesome website. And there's so many. There's just so many. If you need references or information, get a hold of me, and I'll be back on tonight at 9:30 talking about male domestic violence and male sexual abuse. And I hope you can join me 9:30 tonight, same place. And I reach out. Don't suffer in silence. If you were a victim or a survivor of child sexual abuse, please reach out and get some help. And contact me if you need resources. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.